Buenas tardes todos. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Wherever you're at, this is probably an international show. My name is Abelardo de la Peña Jr. I'm Director of Marketing and Communications for La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, and this is an extremely special edition of En Casa con La Plaza, our series of programmings, of virtual Zoom and Facebook Live programmings that bring La Plaza's great events and programs and conversations, presentations, demonstrations directly to you at your home. I'm going to turn it over to Dan Guerrero, but before I do, please, if you are on Facebook, share with your friends. Start a watch party because it's going to be a great one and you're going to really enjoy it. So I'm going to go away. Take it away, Dan.
Hey, Abelardo, thank you very much. Pay no attention to this. It's earlier here than I normally do the show, as you know. And so I have plantation shutters and I get the afternoon sun. So never mind that. To say that this is a special episode of the Happy Hour is an understatement. It is so special. I've turned in my traditional Grey Goose Martini for champagne because we definitely have a champagne guest celebrating a milestone birthday. And we're so privileged to get to share it with her. To say that she is a legend or an icon is an understatement. I know everybody throws those words around. Somebody has one hit song, they're an icon. But this is the real deal. And she's zooming in from her beautiful home in San Antonio, one of my favorite places in the land. So I want you to please welcome, on a milestone birthday, our very special guest, Florencia Vicenta de Casillas Martinez Cardona. And there she is. Hello, darling. I got it. I was so nervous. I was going to goof it up. That's a lot of names.
Right. It's been a lot. That's right. Could you see that on a marquee? You know, with it, the endings have changed, but the main, the Cardonas, is there, and of course. Until just recently, De Leon.
I know you lost your beautiful husband recently, and you have our deepest condolences. You had a long, happy marriage. We're going to talk about that very long name in a little while, but I want to start at the very beginning. We've been friends for such a long time, which has been my great privilege. Well, 7-8 years, right? 7-8 years. And I was trying to think back, and I remember the first time we worked together. So I do have a little photo. See if you remember this photo. Abelardo, can we take a look there? Look at how young we were.
Oh my gosh, where was that?
That was, you were getting ready for makeup. You obviously didn't need it, but it was television. That's El Show de Paul Rodriguez that I produced in the early 70s. Oh
my gosh, how is Paul?
He's good. He's still out there doing it. People love him. Yeah, he's still out there, but this must have been like 91 or 92, around there. And I was so excited. Vikki Carr is doing our show. I don't look nervous, but I was very nervous. And excited.
Oh, look at how blonde my hair was then. Of course, it's been many different colors, but all the hairdressers loved it. All the hairdressers.
They're gorgeous. Hair changes in styles and colors, but there's always Vikki Carr. Now, let's talk a little bit. Now, you have your beverage of choice, which I believe is similar to mine, right? What are you sipping?
A Shunker.
Ah, you see, here's to you on your beautiful birthday, Vikki.
Thank you.
I've had guests do tequila shots, mezcal, Chardonnay, dirty martinis. You're the first champagne girl.
Well, it's about time, don't you think?
I think so.
Okay.
Most people, I don't know why. I think most people think of you as a California girl, and you were brought up in San Gabriel Valley, but you were actually born in El Paso, right?
That's right.
And the eldest of 7. That's a lot of kids running around.
7 beautiful, well, all total, beautiful family. There's Chaco, there's Frank, there's Tom, there's Stephanie, there's Ruthie, there's Debbie, and moi. The bossy one.
And nephews and nieces and everyone is watching.
Godchildren, right? Mucha familia. Gracias a Dios.
Ese es bueno, gracias a Dios. And they're all still with you. I know that your parents, Carlos and Florence, were they from El Paso as well?
No, let me tell you the story about that love story. My dad was from El Paso, and he wanted to go to California. So they had no money and all of this, you know, they came from a very humble beginnings, as many of us did. And he got on a train, he hopped a train, went to California because he had family in LA, and they picked him up at the train depot. And then he happened to see my mother and fell in love with her and just went after her, literally. He used to get on the high school bus, and she would get all embarrassed, and but it was very interesting because she was engaged to somebody else, and her family didn't know it, and not obviously my dad didn't know it either. But it turns out that my grandpa at their home, Florence, what? There's a young man at the front door with bag loads of groceries, you know, and he said he wants to see you. And she was so embarrassed. And that's how my grandpa, my mother's father, and my dad, they met. So obviously it didn't last with the other secret paramour that she had.
But how interesting that he didn't bring roses, he brought groceries?
Of course. Well, I think in that era and in that time, when you're talking about the 40s, all of that was very important. In fact, I was reading something that my ex-husband, Michael, had sent me, that we are that generation that was from the 30s and the 40s. We saw it all. We came out of depression. There was the war. I remember my mother was a Rosie the Riveter, you know, and I remember the books, you know, where you could go and get food, and I have it all written down, but it was during the very, very rough time. We were known, I guess, as the tough generation that came into our being, and we saw everything. It was after the war, and then how things started building up again, and I remember, because I remember as a little girl that, and especially in San Gabriel, there was a lot of military, and most of them were Mexicanos, of course, and everybody had, do you remember in the window, the little flags, which gave notice to everybody that they had a son or in the service. And those windows were all full.
Because and there'd always be the fear of a telegram man walking down the street and what house he was.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, you know, and I mean, it was like having to start over after World War II, you know, and then came the Korean War, and then came Vietnam, and we were brought up in an era that was tough compared to what it is now. Now it's like another world.
It's a different, war is still war, it's still hell, but it is different. Now, when did you come to California? Because you're a lot of these war stories. Is this when you were in El Paso, or were you already in?
My dad met my mother in California. She was originally from California.
Right.
And he told my mother, after they were married and everything, that he wanted the firstborn to be born in Texas. So was like 7 months pregnant, and she took the Greyhound bus, and she was like 19 years old, I think, and went to El Paso to meet my grandparents. And so the same midwife that delivered my father delivered me.
Wow. So
and I was born as pioneer style. And my mom used to get all upset with me. I see myself on a covered wagon the way you're saying that. I said, well, Mom, it was different. It was very different. And my mom, I kind of, everybody wants me to do a book. And the title of the book was, that I was thinking of jokingly, was, I feel I've always been held back. And when I was going to be born, my grandma, my dad's mother, was right there watching everything. And my mother, through clenched teeth and pinching my father and his hands and everything, he says, unless your mother gets out of this room, I'm not going to have this baby. So my dad said, Mom, please, would you get out so she can have the baby? So finally she got out and I was born.
But now, so did you never really lived in El Paso? You just were born there?
No.
Oh, so
I only was born there, and then after that we stayed for a little while. I think maybe till I don't recall really how old I was, but I was still a baby. And
California girl. I mean, you're a Texan now because you've been living in San Antonio for so many years. Now, let me ask you, because you were singing by the time you were 4. We have an adorable picture of you. I love this. Look at that photo.
Oh, no. I was auditioning. My mother, remember there was a TV show, no, you're too young. There was a show called Sandy Dreams.
I remember Sandy Dreams.
Had movies like that.
I remember.
So my mom had this picture taken, and she was going to submit it to the agents. Of course, she never did, so there went my career, you see.
Oh, yes, you had
a
career. Sandy Dreams, don't forget, I'm only 3 months younger than you, my dear. I'm only 3 months younger than you. So I remember Sandy Dreams.
Sandy Dreams, yeah.
So you were...
Well, I didn't make that, but my first appearance, and it's kind of ironical because I went to school at San Gabriel Mission.
Oh, wow, which just burned down practically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not only that, I made first Holy Communion there. And my first performance was at the age of 4. And my first vocal coach was a priest called, I remember, Father Michael. And he used to tell me, now when you sing, I want everything to come out pear-shaped, pear-shaped. And then it was Sister Columbia who played the piano. And we didn't have very much, but my mom made a costume out of a sheet, and so I could be an angel. And you remember the old tinsel they used to put on Christmas trees? Well, that became a rope. And I'm singing, and I sang a Desde Fideles in Latin, and then Silent Night. And so I looked out into the audience, and my mom was crying and crying. Now, here I am, 4 years old. And I said, oh my gosh, I'll never do this again. You know, I'm hurting my mother. I'm hurting my mother. So when I got off the stage, I said, Mom, I said, I am so sorry. I promise I'll never do that. Who knew at 4 years old that she was just so proud of me? That says, no, Mija, no.
How did she know? How did she know you had this voice? It sounded like she knew you had this gift, and she was leading you to a career.
No, Dan, it was my dad. My dad was the one who had a beautiful voice. And for the old, the fiestas they used to have at San Gabriel,
sure,
in San Gabriel Mission. Well, there was one occasion where I thought it was General Patton, but my brothers corrected me. General Pershing, I guess it was there. And he asked someone in the audience if they could sing his favorite song, which was, I believe, either La Paloma or Cielito Lindo. And so nobody got up. And my dad, who was in the Navy, he said, well, General, he says, I was not in, I can sing it. I married a girl. I'm not from El Paso. I'm not from San Gabriel, but I can sing for you the song. Well, he brought the house down, or the whole area. And there was a woman there that wanted to manage my dad. And my mom looked at her, and there were 4 of us already in the family. And my mother said, no. So I think through my dad, I realized the dream that he had for himself of his wanting to be a singer, because he would never let me go out. I couldn't go out on dates. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. But anything that had to do with music, I could do. So I took every music class that there was. I was never home because I was always rehearsing. And he said, you're never home. I said, Dad, it's music. It's music. It's music. And so then I had the opportunity to audition. And you know how compadres are, 2 fathers that get together and they start talking about their kids, and oh, listen, I have a son who sings, and my dad says, oh, I have a daughter who sings. And I said, well, he's looking for a singer. He says, oh, well, let me bring my daughter. So I went to audition, and I had no idea, because I was working I was a bookkeeper at a bank in downtown LA, Security Pacific, and I loved my job. And I had to audition in Spanish, and the Spanish I knew at that time, hon, it was that of a little kid, you know, of 4 or 5 years old. It was not very broad in vocabulary and everything. So I learned some songs. Do you remember an artist called, her name was Virginia Lopez?
Yes, sure.
Cariñito azucarado que sabe a bombón, amorcito core de mi corazón. And then, so I learned those songs, and, you know, who knew I was going to get the job? And I got the job. And remember the Chi Chi Club in Palm Springs?
Yeah.
That's where I started singing.
Really?
The group that I went with, his name was Pepe Callahan. And then it really got funny, because supposedly he said the full name was Pepe Solomon Callahan. So he had all bases.
That explains it.
And then from there, I was sent to work in Nevada, and that's where my career started.
I want to
But
back up a little
for
bit. I want to back up a little bit, not to interrupt, but I want to back up and go back to school for a little minute here, because you went
Yeah.
to Rosemead High, right?
Yes, I did.
You went to Rosemead High, and there's somebody there that I dug up from Rosemead High that I want you to see. So there you are. Look at you in your little Peter. Oh, your little Peter collar.
Right. We used to wear that.
But here's a friend that wanted to say something for you.
Okay.
Do we have that, Abelardo?
Oh my gosh!
I'm Bob Mackey, and I was just thinking about high school a few minutes ago, and I was thinking about all the people that I'm
What happened? It worked great a second ago.
wondering if they're still around. Well, I know one's still around because she's going to have a birthday soon. There's this girl that I was in singing class with, and there was a bunch of us. We wanted to be in a musical the annual musical comedy. And I took that class. I couldn't sing worth shit, but I did it anyway. And I got the part because, I don't know, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, there I am in the singing class with Mr. Cowan at the piano, and down at the front was this little girl. And she was always gossiping with her girlfriend and giggling. And sometimes her giggle got really loud because she had sort of a soprano giggle, if you know what I mean. Well, if you knew her, you knew what I mean. Anyway, I asked this girl next to me who that was. Who is that girl over there that's giggling all the time? And she says, "Oh, that's Flossie." I said, "Flossie?
Oh my!
Is that her name?" "Oh, no. Her name is Florence Cardona." And I went, "Oh, okay." And she said, "Well, she has a loud giggle, but she's a really good singer." Well, the girl next to me was right. Flossie Cardona, otherwise known as Vikki Carr, ended up being, the most famous singer to ever come out of Rosemead High School. And I mean, and a really good singer too. So I just want to say happy birthday, Vikki. I'm thinking about you.
Thank you so much.
That's a good surprise.
Yes, for heaven's sake. He used to do the costumes also for the shows, and he gave me a sketch as a gift that it was Connecticut Yankee, one of the musicals that we did, and that was the sketch, Bob Mackey's sketch, and then he had like a little piece of the material that was going to be the outfit, and then how much the material cost, which was $25. I have to tell you that when I had him doing the designing of my gowns, they were not 25 cents. But I have to tell you, they have lasted forever because I loved them. I felt so elegant, and I would invite him to come to see some of my concerts, and he said he couldn't because it makes him very nervous because he doesn't really watch the show. What happened is he would look to see if the hem was right, or this was right. He was looking at the costume instead of enjoying the show.
Yeah.
He was incredible talent, and he really dressed some very beautiful, incredible talent. And I'm proud to have known him in school and in high school, which we have incredible music departments.
But people freak out when I say that Vikki Carr and Bob Mackey went to high school together, and everybody is like, what? It totally freaks them out. I I was at Bob's at dinner one night and it came up and I said, wait, and I freaked out and he went and he brought out the yearbook, which is when I snapped that photo.
Right.
Little knowing one day I'd be using it, you know, on a Zoom show, but he sends you his love and his best regards there. Now, I want to find out how you obviously had major pipes right away, but how does a Mexican-American girl or any girl from Rosemead High or any high school wind up landing a record deal when you were still a kid? You got a record contract pretty quick.
Well, first, let me back up. My dad, who allowed me to go on the road at the age of 18, I started in, remember I told you the Chi-Chi Club?
Right.
And I was sent to Reno, Nevada. And at that time, my grandmother, my mother's mother, was my dueña. She traveled on the road with me to take care of me. And Mom was very, very upset because this was Dad's idea about me going on the road, and he never consulted with her. Never consulted with her. And so she was very, very, very upset. But it's interesting to realize that when my career started taking off, that what was happening was I realized my father's dream for himself.
Yes.
Okay, but once I had a hit, like It Must Be Him, that was when he told me, he said, all right, you can quit now, you can get married and have, you know, be a regular Mexican housewife. And that was when I had to stand up and speak for myself and just say, no, Dad, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I feel very sincerely in my heart that God has, we all have gifts that we've been given. What we do with them is up to us.
Yes.
And I chose to follow the dream or the gift to be able to share my singing. And I have been blessed over 6 years to have traveled all over the world and to have a song like It Must Be Him that just was incredible. And whether I spoke the language or not, I realized that making eye contact with people and smiling, I had connected with the people. Just like Bob says, giggles. Well, I have to tell you that in Australia, they were so impressed with my giggles that I did a show comparable to, let's just say, The Tonight Show. And I'm sitting there and they're saying, okay, go ahead. I said, what do you mean go ahead? He said, laugh. I said, what? He said, laugh for us. You have the greatest laugh, but I'd never been on TV to laugh. So I said, gosh, I wonder if I recorded this, if it could be a hit record, you know.
Probably.
It would cheer you up.
It's not too late. You do have a great laugh because it's genuine. It's
yes. That it was loud, unfortunately, or fortunately for me, because there were certain theaters, and you know, Dan, from working in New York and everything, there were certain theaters where acoustically, if it was right, I didn't even need a microphone. I could just sing in that theater and just fill it up, you know, with sound. So
you still can.
I'm very blessed.
You still
can.
And
as a matter of fact, right before our little interview, I had a surprise, and all my family, everybody, all my friends were outside. I had mariachi that was serenading me, and my godchild, Allison in Atlanta, who's watching the show.
Wow.
She did this for me, you know, and I sat there crying, and I couldn't believe it because there were people that I loved, but it was so funny because we're all looking at each other and everybody's wearing a mask. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
And you're trying to figure out, who is this? The eyes. Okay. And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. This day has been phenomenal. And of course, on my front door, there were big balloons that gave my age, which of course we all know is 39. And Jack Benny taught me that.
Right.
And if he could live with it all of those years, he was always 29.
You look the same. We have a great photo of you from the 60s, which was an explosive, look at that.
Oh my God.
Isn't that the best?
Blonde on red.
Now what?
The hairdresser. And do you remember Jill St. John?
Of course.
He originally did that blonde on red on her hair. And then he cut my hair short, which I've had so many different hairstyles. But when I went to New York, the hairdressers there were so like, hotty. And they looked at my hair and they said, oh my gosh, you know, you got blonde hair on blonde streaks on red. And I didn't say anything. And then after, I guess about a week or so, they asked me, so when are you leaving town? And I said, why? He said, because we want to try that blonde on red on our clients that saw it and they liked it.
Trendsetter. Now in the 60s, I remember,
for a Mexican kid, that's incredible trendsetter.
Listen, here's the thing about being a Mexican kid. I remember seeing you on the Carson show, which by the way, I think
oh my gosh,
you were the very first female to ever guest host his show, right? I remember that. But I remember you going on his show, and after he introduced you as Vikki Carr, you very quickly said, I'm Florencia Vicenta, and you gave him your whole name. You spoke about your Mexican heritage, and I'm sitting, I guess I was in New York at the time, sitting there like, wow, how fantastic that you could have sat there all blonde and blanquita, but you always very much celebrated your Mexican culture. And I think we all appreciated that tremendously, especially at that time in the 60s. It was a big.
Oh, I have to tell you that Jimmy Smits and Liz told all of the actors and actresses in New York, they said, when you said that, I said, our mouths dropped.
Yes.
Talk about this. And and I said, why not? You know, first of all, nobody believes me. Right. You know, my dad era moreno.
But your mom, muy blanca. Your mom was very blanca.
We wound up being, I don't know if it's 3 surfers and 4 morenos, you know. And I tried to stay in the sun. I was in Elko, Nevada, and on this occasion for 2 weeks, I did 20 minutes on each side, basting myself, you know, with a lot of tanning oil and like a turkey. So I went back to LA, and my mom and my dad were there to pick me up. And I was wearing this little cute sundress, black. I had little white gloves and a hat. And my mom and my dad walked right by me. And I looked at them and I said, Mom, Dad, it's me. And my dad looked at me and he goes, what happened to you? And I said, aren't you proud and happy I finally look like a Mexican? And he says, ay, que tonta, Dad. You know, what's wrong with the color that you were? And I said, nobody will believe me. Nobody believes me. But then when I was in Mexico, not trying to jump ahead, but I realized that there were natural redheads with blue eyes and freckles, because in Mexico, it was the mixture of all of the countries that tried to come and conquer.
That's
And that was France with Maximilian, and Germany also. And also the Irish were there.
Yeah. We're a mixture.
So we're quite a mixture, and which I think makes us even more interesting, and
I agree, but
it's wonderful to talk to people. Huh?
I said that's part of the issue that confuses people. They expect us all to be moreno, and they just, that's why we keep getting stereotyped. They don't know what to do.
Well, it's like your dad was more moreno, Lalo Guerrero.
Right.
Incredible.
He always said I was very Indian looking, and that's why I couldn't sing in English, though he spoke English. You did some. The great thing about the 60s was all the variety shows, and you did them all.
Oh,
Dean Martin and Jimmy Dean and who else? Ed Sullivan. And there was only one female who had a variety show, and you know who she is, and she wants to say something really quickly here. Abelardo?
oh my gosh.
Hey, Vikki, Carol Burnett here. Happy 80th birthday. I'm sending you much love, and I remember the wonderful times we had when you were on my show. I hope you have a beautiful day.
Oh, what a beautiful human being. Doing her show, there was never a dull moment. There was always laughter. That incredible cast that she had. Corman, who was the other one, the deadpan face.
Corman, wasn't it Corman?
That was Harvey Corman. And they couldn't do a sketch. They couldn't do it without somebody breaking up. It only took one to do it.
And Bob did all the costumes on the Burnett show.
Yes. Bob did the costumes for the Sonny and Cher show.
Yeah.
For many, Glenn Campbell, the Glenn Campbell show when it was on. I'll never forget, he did the opening, Glenn Campbell, of his show, and he was going around like a carousel where there were horses, and he was looking, Glenn is singing, "Let it please him, it must be him, it must be him." And he says, "But it's not him." And then what was the comedian that did Glenn's show? Was it Pat Paulson?
I never watched his show. I don't know who that was. Somebody wrote in to say...
he was dressed in an outfit, and then when it comes around to the carousel that's going around and he's on it, he says, "It must be him. It's him."
That song, little did you know, that was your, like Judy's Over the Rainbow. That became your signature song. When it popped into Moonstruck, everybody was like, everybody loves that song.
Well, I've got to tell you a story about Moonstruck. Norman Jewison, when I was the director, when I was at the peak of my success, I wanted to do, and I had contacted Norman Jewison. I wrote him a letter and I said, "Dear Mr. Jewison, my name is Vikki Carr, and I love the work that you've done with some of the films I had seen. And I was wondering if you would you consider doing a TV special for me?" And dear Vikki Carr. And then he answers me and he says, "Dear Vikki, this is only the first fan letter I have ever received. And I wish I could do it, but I'm going to," he was going to Europe. He was getting ready to do Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at the camera. Somebody just said. I thought I was.
Oh, yeah. It's fine.
Where's the guy on the TV show that points, said, over here, over here. Am I here or here?
Oh, I like that one. Do that pose again. I like that pose. That was good. He's the greatest. He's the greatest. Now, the 70s start with a bang for you and a new chapter, because at the height of your career, you're still hotter than hot in English. You recorded 1972, Vikki Carr en Español. You're finally using the Spanish language album, which of course catapulted you into a whole other hemisphere and universe where you toured all of Latin America, everywhere, and you had a new career in addition to what you already had.
Can I tell you the story behind the story?
You can do anything you want because it's your birthday.
That's right. When I was with the record company I was with, which I think was United Artist, Clive Davis from Columbia Records came to me and said, I want Vikki Carr on the label. So I said, okay. And I went on the label, and because of It Must Be Him, and I was so successful at that time, I said, I'm finally going to try and do an album all in Espanol. And so I asked Clive, I said, I'd like to do an album in Spanish. And he goes, that's a foreign language. And that was the wrong thing to say to me.
Yikes.
I said, yeah. I said, you know, and it was my first two albums, I don't know if you recall, that had Somos Novios,
Sure.
Los Dos, Armando Manzanero songs. And the most beautiful, beautiful albums. And in Mexico, in Latin America, they knew Vikki Carr, but they knew Vikki Carr for It Must Be Him, all my stuff that was a success in English.
Did they not have a clue that you were Mexicana? Did they not have a clue, you don't think?
Well, the press down there were really funny because I was so proud of my heritage. Guadalajara, Chihuahua, and Sonora, that was where my family roots came from. And I was always saying, oh, I'm of Mexican descent, I'm of Mexican descent. And so then the press looks at me and they say, what part of Mexico were you from?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, I nací en El Paso, Texas. I was born in El Paso. And they looked at me and they said, you're not Mexican.
Ocha.
And that
Ocha.
kicked me because I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. I am an American of Mexican descent. And then they heard me sing. So they said, no, eres nuestra, you know, you're ours. But I have to thank, let me get back to the Colombia story of the Spanish. Comes the time for the renewal of contract, I'm talking about 1974. And so Clive said, I'm sorry, but I can only work with one diva at a time. And I said, so he opted to stay with Barbra Streisand. So I used to tell my audience, I said, but I ask you, really, what has she done? No, you are fantastic, Barbra. Oh my God, I was right next to you at a shampoo bowl at Carrie White's salon in Beverly Hills. And I wanted to say hello, but I was too chicken. I was overwhelmed that she was sitting there. But, you know, everything in life happens for a reason. And it turns out that there was obviously other things I was supposed to do. And because of that first Spanish album, I was without a label. So Columbia from Mexico came to me And they said, we want Vikki Carr because we know she can sell records. And I said, where do I sign? Because that's who I wanted to be with, was someone who believed in me.
Sure.
And that is when disco music came out, and I went to Mexico and received my first Grammy in my career.
I'm seeing the whole thing right here.
Yeah.
You had best Mexican American performance in '86 into the '80s. Now, best Latin album, best Mexican performance again, Grammy nominations, gold, platinum records. You went all through Mexico, South America. It was huge. It was huge.
It was so funny because everybody in the States thought I had retired because they hadn't, you know, when I went to try and do a show, and they said, well, then they started saying things like, well, what is she going to do? Is she going to do her Spanish show, or is she going to do her English show? And I said, I'm going to do Vikki's show, which is a combination of everything and anything. Do not typecast me. You know, it's like, Dan, I'm sure just with you too, you've had to fight, but when you believe in something and you know it's right, you have to speak up. Nowadays, people are so afraid of being intimidated for whatever reason, and we can't be that way. That's not us. That's not the generation that I came from. I mean, we went through so much, and we were fighters, but fighters for good.
For good. You're right. And
that's what's missing, I think.
And more than ever, you have to speak up. But it's we're going to very challenging times. But you know, I remember going back to our youth, Walt Disney. Remember, he had a weekly show about animals. I love animals, and every week, and of course there'd be the scene where the lion eats the gazelle, and you go, ah, or whatever. Yeah. And at the end, he would always say, and it is survival of the fittest. And even as a kid, that line resonated with me. I'm like, so I'm going to be a lion, not a gazelle. You know, you have to fight. You got to fight. Even when you're
you have to fight in life for the things that you believe in and that you want and that you know is right. And don't be intimidated or allowed anybody to push you around, because the answer is no.
For a woman, that's an added thing, more difficult.
This is a free country where there are other countries that I have traveled. You cannot open your mouth. You cannot say anything. You cannot do anything. We're blessed. But the majority of people have never really been outside. They've never had to work through like we did, that generation from the 40s and the 50s. We went through our issues also, but there's too much going on that is not right at all. It really, really isn't. And unless we speak up, things will not change.
I have faith in the new generation. They're strong and they're standing up. When I was doing my solo show, which you saw in San Antonio years ago.
Oh yeah.
And I did a lot of universities, and I would meet all these young Latinos, in particular, about Latinos, strong and empowered, and they will make a difference. I have faith in our young people. We talked earlier about your very lovely husband, and we do have a photo of the two of you that I think that people would like to see. Look at him, Pete.
Yeah.
He's a beautiful man. You were married how many years? 20,
well, it would have been 27. But
7 years.
There's an interesting, I don't know if it's worth telling, but I fell in love with this man when we were both married to other people.
Oh, wow.
And in 1971. But being respectful, I mean, nothing ever happened. but I would look forward to, even if it was once a year, to be able to go to San Antonio, where I used to come and do fundraisers for Holy Cross High School. And I knew that I would see him at least one time.
Wow.
And all of these years later,
Wow. Because you were married in 93. So from the 70s to 93?
Oh, yeah.
You married? Wow. That's
well,
beautiful.
I 2 marriages.
No, I know, but I'm saying when you married Pete was
yeah.
so and you fell in love with him in the 70s. That's a lot of time. Wow.
Right. And but you know, there again, like I had mentioned, when something is meant to be, God has a path for you. He got divorced, and then she passed away. She was a beautiful, gorgeous woman, just so beautiful. And but he was so, how can I say, not macho, perfect gentleman, so beloved. He was a doctor, and he treated Dan for generations. He had the largest practice on the south side of San Antonio. And here I was known as Dr. Pedro de Leon's wife, not Vikki Carr, which was kind of refreshing, you know.
And you loved it. You loved it, right?
Yeah, it was really great. And he was so wonderful because he met the 2 exes. And I'm going to say something, and if any of them are watching, I'm going to tell it like it is. He said, you know, I could understand the first one, very dapper, very charming, but I never understood the second one. I said, okay. And he said, I cannot believe that they could not understand that all you wanted was to be loved. There was no competition. There was no nothing. I mean, this man, there was nothing. I was so proud. And it was so funny because, remember the TV show in Espanol, Cristina?
Oh, sure. Saturday.
Okay. Well, all of Pete's family, like he had many brothers and sisters, and they would tell him, ay, háblale, Pedro, por favor. Call her, she's single now. She's single. And he kept saying, no, she's going to call me. He kept saying that and saying that and saying that. And then in 92, I came to San Antonio for something for the National Hispanic Foundation. And I couldn't get his face out of my mind. It was in the window in the plane. So when I get to the hotel, the first thing I did was I went to the phone book to look him up. And I was very upset because he was not in the yellow pages. So I'm a doctor or a physician. So then I went to the white pages and I said, oh, this is different. Okay. So I was very brave. Actually brazen. And I called and I said, may I please speak with Dr. Pedro de Leon? And they said, well, he's with patients. Then I chickened out. I said, well, okay, that's all right. He said, no. Who's calling? And I said, Vikki Carr. And they said, he has been waiting for your call.
For 20 years, for 30 years, he's waiting.
Oh my God. So he gets on the phone and I said, hi. I said, what are you doing tonight? And here was the perfect, mannered, everything, incredible gentleman. And he goes, he says, well, I'm not doing anything. but I know you're with the mayor and you have pictures and all of that. Oh, that's only for the photo op. Don't worry about it. I said, but why don't we go to dinner? I said, and I'll send my manager off in the limo and they can all go and have a good time. So we went out to dinner and we went to this wonderful old restaurant, which now is on the river. And right now I can't recall it, but don't feel badly because I have a hard time recalling it normally. So it's not the interview. And we had a glass of wine.
Yes.
One sip. And then I looked at him and I said, do you mind if I kiss you?
Oh my.
I've waited over 30 years. Pobrecito. I went to go kiss him and his little lips were trembling. Tenía como miedo. He said, who is this woman? And we kissed, and that was that. That was in September. I came in for National Hispanic around the 16 de septiembre. And the next month, we announced our engagement.
Oh my gosh.
And then we got married the following June because I wanted to be a June bride. And I was finally married in the church. And my dad got to walk me down the aisle. So it was like I said, you know, everything in its own time. But I have to tell you one funny story. Prior to this wonderful coming together, I was working in Zacatecas. And they had like, what do you call those coffee houses, that Turkish, where they read the ground?
Something, yeah.
Something like that. So they asked me, said, have you ever had your coffee grounds read? And I looked at them like, what? Are you kidding me? And they said, no. I said, no, I haven't. And they said, okay. So they did whatever, and then they turned the cup over. And then when they turned the cup over, they looked at it afterwards, and then they said, oh, there is someone who loves you, who is waiting for you. And I said, no kidding. And said, yes, he has white hair. I said, stop right there. If he's not a youngie, I don't want to know. Okay? What do you mean he has white hair? Well, my husband to be, he had white hair, as you saw in that picture. And it was amazing to me how it all came into being the way it was supposed to be. Like I have mentioned, God has a plan for us, and it's up to us to, sometimes he has to kick us in the butt a little bit to get us to
wait a very long time. But
right. It's not our time. Yeah. Obviously, we had to wait 30 years, and other things had to happen in between. But I married the most incredible man. I mean, he was such a gentleman. He was so respected, and not only that, he was an incredible doctor. And if he didn't know what was wrong with you, he knew who to send you to. Okay. And when my darling had dementia, his caregivers used to take him down to North Star Mall. You remember that? You know, it's a very beautiful mall here in San Antonio. And sometimes he'd be walking, and then people would come up to him and say, oh, Dr. De Leon, do you remember you delivered me and you took care of my mom and my dad and my grandparents? I mean, when I say 4 generations, it really was. Yeah. And it was so beautiful to hear the remarks and everything, and the respect from that he received from his colleagues, you know, porque he wouldn't talk too much, but when he did speak, you listened. Because he knew what he was talking about.
You finally had your beautiful marriage.
Yeah.
I have another little hello for you if you wanna hear it, Abelardo.
Hi, Vicki. It's Linda Ronstadt. Hi, Vicki. It's Linda Ronstadt. Remembering the time in Tucson when we sang with Lalo. Remembering the time in Tucson when we sang with Lalo. Happy birthday, dear Vicki, and many happy returns. Hi, Vicki. It's Linda Ronstadt. I was remembering the time in Tucson when we sang with Lalo. It was so much fun.
Oh,
happy birthday, dear Vicki, and many happy returns.
I love that photo.
Oh my gosh. That woman, she's like with the mafia, okay? I had just finished with all of this mariachi music, so I was not interested anymore in really doing anything with mariachi. And when I say mafia, it was like Linda made me a deal I could not refuse.
Yes. It's hard to say no to Linda.
Right. And she would watch me perform. And I remember she asked my assistant at the time, said, how does she do it? And so, you know, she says, well, how does she do what? She says, how does she come out so easily and talk to the people and just enjoy herself so much? Because, you know, Linda's very shy, and she really didn't want to talk to an audience all that much.
Right.
And here was La Wiki, who had no problem talking. Sometimes the problem's just shutting her up. But.
And giggling. We haven't gotten your giggle yet. Do you remember now? You
Australia.
Your fans have included 5 U.S. presidents: Nixon, Ford, Reagan, Bush, and Clinton. And we actually worked together remember the Summit of the Americas for President Clinton in Miami?
Oh, yes. That was that time I was there.
Look at that funny picture. Do you remember?
Wow.
Do you remember what this was about? This, so the audience knows, President Clinton was hosting 34 world leaders from the Western Hemisphere countries in Miami for the Summit of the Americans. And Quincy Jones was asked to produce this amazing show. And I always joke that when he looked at the world atlas, he saw most of the Western Hemisphere speak Spanish. So he tracked me down, he tracked me down, and I wound up co-producing this with him, and it was gigantic. And Vicki, you presented, I think, with Jimmy Smith, and you did a number, Ana Gabriel, Celia Cruz, and we decided for Celia, remember that you were going to be her backup singers. You, Ana Gabriel, and she
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and that was when we were talking about rehearsing for that. Yeah, that was an amazing event, right?
Yes, it was. And who was Maya Angelou? She was there at that.
Yes.
And also Arturo Sandoval.
Yes, Arturo Sandoval, and we worked together, and I have a photo of that. Yeah. This was our dream project that we did together. Remember this?
Oh my gosh.
Arturo Sandoval, Pepe Aguilar, of course.
That was so incredible to have the opportunity to work with Arturo and Jack Jones, incredible singer, and then to have the opportunity to introduce Pepe Aguilar.
That's right.
To the rest of the country who didn't know who he was.
And didn't know he spoke perfect English. Didn't know he spoke. Remember, he sang in English too. It was a PBS special called Memories, Memorias. It was all these famous, I'm telling the audience because they may not have been there, famous American standards that were really Spanish language songs first. Right. So Vicki and that group, everyone, they sang the original Spanish lyric, and then the English lyric, and Vicki sang solo. Right. Then she did duets, and it was fantastic. We taped
It
it.
was a beautiful show.
Yeah.
Just beautiful.
We loved it. We taped it at the Beverly
Was
Hilton.
it Hilton?
The Golden Globes. Yeah, black tie audience. You were flawless. And now there's one more thing I want to do. We have another hello for you, a little video, and because you also did lots of stage musicals. Look at this. To go.
Vikki Carr, happy birthday. Oh, it's me. It's Liz.
Oh my
You know,
God.
wearing lipstick with this is really a bitch. I want to wish you a happy birthday. I can't believe you're 80. 80? How dare you? Vikki, I was always a fan. I went from a fan to a friend, and you pulled me into your world, and I felt that I finally made it in show business when you invited me to have lunch with your family in Pasadena. Your mom and your pop were having their anniversary. And all those years ago, you have always remained my friend. We've worked together in musicals. I remember doing a tribute to, who was it, Tito Puente or somebody? And we were at Lincoln Center, and Celia Cruz was singing, and she needed backup. And the band usually sang Con el pelo, con la bemba colora. And you and I were backstage, and another singer, this wonderful Cuban girl, oh, I can't remember her name, I'm so sorry, it's catching. We stood behind Celia Cruz, and you were worried. She said, oh no, I don't think we should do. I said, yeah, she needs coro. And I sang with Vikki Carr behind Celia Cruz. And it's one of the highlights of my career, darling, singing backup for Celia Cruz. But you opened your mouth, and you were shy about backing her up, and we were all con la bemba colora, and standing next to Vikki Carr, and she goes, con la bemba colora, and I jumped 3 feet in the air, and it was one of the most wonderful. And I remember Celia turning around and being so happy that we were there, seeing the three of us on stage. I love you, Vikki. I admired you since I saw you sitting on a fence singing "It Must Be Him" on the Sausage Guy show. What's his name, Dan?
Oh,
Jimmy
Jimmy
Dean. Jimmy, oh, okay. Oh, so happy birthday. Dan is cutting me off. Bye. Have a wonderful party. I love you. I love you. And many more songs and many more albums.
God bless you. Thank you.
She's doing great.
Oh
She
my
loves you so much.
God.
I'm going to go over there with a laptop and show her the interview, because she's a tech challenged, but she loves you.
Yeah, I know how she feels so much.
We have.
Listen, I'm wondering, that I have such a family. Are any of them able to ask me a question, or can I say hi to them and say,
Yes, we have one more saludo for you, and then we'll do a Q&A.
Okay.
We'll do that. You'll like this one. Okay. Can we hit that on it?
Hello, Vikki. It's me. And I'm here to say happy birthday to you. We spent many years of love, friendship, laughter, even some tears of joy and sorrow together. And it's been a fabulous life with you. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us, especially your voice. You're an extraordinary artist, one of the finest we've ever had. May love, light, and happiness be yours and continue to be yours. Let me just say that we've had some incredible times together, and we're gonna have a lot more to come. So be safe and healthy during this pandemic. And remember, happy birthday to you. I'd sing it, but man, what an embarrassment. I adore you. You're one of a kind. You're an icon and national hero for us. Bless your heart. We love you, Vikki Carr, for all the years that you've been with us.
you.
Con amor y con cariño te digo, tú eres la única. Thank you.
Gracias.
So wasn't this
Oh
a
my
good
God.
birthday present, this little chat?
Oh, that was, thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
today has been so full of blessings, you know, and it's like, you know what I want to say, I don't want to really cry all that much, it's like once in a while I've done something right or something good, you know, to have it at this age, and I can't really explain. I hope that everyone who's watching can understand what it's like to be so loved and not even be cognizant of it. You know, I'm thankful. I'm thankful to my mother and my father that brought us up all the way that they did, for my brothers and sisters that are priceless, and my nieces, my nephews, my great nieces and nephews. It just is, I'm just so sorry I've not had the opportunity to be able to go and visit you because of this pandemic. But we'll get there.
Yes.
I don't know exactly when, but we'll get there.
Everything in life comes back to you, you know? It does.
Yeah.
You've given so much to so many. You're very beloved. You're very beloved, and rightfully so. And if I had anything left in this glass, I would drink it, but it's all empty. Oh, look, I even have a little piñata for you. Look.
Oh, how
Piñata.
cute.
And I would say it has toys in it, but it sounds more like a kidney stone. I only hear one.
Oh, yeah.
We have a few questions. Abelardo, do you want to see if Vikki can answer some things for some of the people that have been writing in?
Sure, there's a lot of questions. Well, first of all, happy birthday. Feliz cumpleaños, Vikki. A big
Thank you.
And thank you to Dan for bringing you both together here on this very special occasion. We have from Terry Cardona, wife of Aunt Vicki's nephew, Donnie, asking, what is your favorite childhood memory?
Oh, my favorite childhood memory? Oh my gosh. I think it was probably fighting with my brothers, because I would always get like a doll for Christmas, and they wound up being victims of the little war games that they would play in the backyard. So it was an incredible life. It really was. And yes, my dad was strict, and my mother, but they brought us up with some of the most important ways of how to be. My dad brought me up with, you do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And that is really what has served me, I think, so well. No matter where I have been in the world, if I figure if I can make a connection by a look or by a smile or a laugh or a giggle, I've made some connection there. I'm sorry that I don't have the opportunity to see a lot of my nieces and nephews as much as I would like to, but thank you for loving me. Thank you for coming to my shows when I would do some shows in California. And all of you have been so supportive and wonderful. And I'm going to tell you something, Dan. I felt so guilty because I was never really around my brothers and my sisters enough. You know, I left home when I was 18, and I missed some of their marriages, the birth of some of their kids. I was blessed to be godmother, though, to Allison. Allison, God bless you. Thank you for the mariachis that were there. What a surprise was that. I even wound up singing Si Nos Dejan. And then it just, when I see them, I feel those are years that I never will have with them, to be able to share a lot of the stories and things that I would have loved to. You know, of course, everybody wants me to write a book, but I'll get around to it one of these years. Either that, or I would love to do a book like this, like just talking to you, you know. And
you should do. You should talk into an interview. Talk into a microphone and just tell your stories. Then somebody else will edit it and put it together. You just get the stories out. That's what you need to do. And then it will be in your own voice.
That's a great idea.
I'm telling you, it's the easy way to do it. We have more questions, Abelardo?
Well, not a whole lot of questions, but a lot of love. We have from Marilena Yepes. Happy birthday to a courageous entertainer who was always proud of her culture and never denied her roots. Respect. We have from Allison Sotomayor. Vikki, you have such a songbird voice. I love when you sing. And from Vito Stifaldi. Thank you, Vikki, for brightening our lives and making the world a better place. You are a blessing. We love you. The official international fan club of Vikki Carr, AKA Vikki Special People, VSP, Vito Cafaldi, and also from Nacho Lozano, Monica's father. I would only say that we are all honored. We are all honored to have had a fellow Latina be such a tremendous success as a highly talented singer, and to wish her all the best.
You were with
God bless.
He was ambassador to Salvador when you two you went down to visit.
Right. Let me tell you that story, because I did the show and he was there as the ambassador, but this is so funny. My sister Ruth was traveling with me as my assistant, and a strap on one of the Bob Mackie dresses broke, and nobody had a pin or anything, but you know who saved me was one of the soldiers with a machine gun that was there in the room. He had a safety pin, so my sister fixed it. And I believe that I was the last performer to work in El Salvador before they closed the country. And he was a perfect, wonderful gentleman. And thank you. Thank you for watching and being there.
And he's still a gentleman. The Lozano family, of course, a distinguished family, founders of La Opinión. They do so much for our community and our people, and Monica, who we love, and it's a great family. So yeah. Now we're gonna leave with one last video because we have to. That's why we're doing it. So you wanna hit that last video?
Muy buen día, señora Vikki Carr. Queremos saludarla, especialmente a mi esposa Susi García del Mariachi Las Colibrí y su amigo Pepe Martínez Jr., ex integrante del Mariachi Vargas. Queremos mandarle un fuerte abrazo, muchas bendiciones por su cumpleaños. Usted sabe que mi padre desde el cielo le manda un fuerte abrazo. Gracias, que Dios me la bendiga, y ahí les van sus mañanitas. ¡Ahí les va! Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba el rey David. Hoy por ser día de tu santo, te las cantamos aquí. Despierta, mi bien, despierta. Mira que ya amaneció y a los pajarillos cantan. La luna ya se metió con jazmines y flores. Este día voy a adornar, hoy por ser sus 15 años, le venimos a cantar.
Happy birthday, Vikki.
¡Felicidades!
I love that 15 años. I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love
Well,
it.
it's the truth. It's the truth. Pepe Martinez Jr. and Susie, his wife. She's carrying their second baby. That's why that belt is a little high there. He's gonna be another daddy now. He's got 2 teeny kids in addition to.
I'm very proud to have done an album with Vargas, you know, and very thrilled. Here I go again. I have been so blessed, and I'm still being blessed. And thank you, sweet Jesus. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And you will always be blessed, because that's how it's supposed to be. We love you very much. Thank you for sharing this special birthday with us. It's a great night, and thank you so much, and we love you. And I'll call you tomorrow. We'll really thank you on the phone. Thank you, Vikki.
And
Thank you.
Dan, why don't you tell us about the next happy hour?
Oh, yes. Our next happy hour, we have that fellow you saw in the last video, Edward James Olmos will be our next guest, and that's August 7th, I think. August 7th. Let me see. Hold on. Yes, August 7th. I'm smarter than I thought. We'll be back to our regular Friday nights, 7 p.m. every other week. August 7th, Edward James Olmos. Thanks for joining us. We all love Vikki. Thank you, Abelardo, for all your hard work. Thank you, La Plaza. Bye.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dan. This was an incredible interview, conversation, celebration for Vikki Carr.
Yes.
And we have to thank our sponsors, of course, SoCal Gas. A great sponsor, member of our board. Also, funding has been provided by the California Humanities and the National Endowment for the Humanities as part of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, the CARES Act, which helps to stabilize our economic plan for 2020. Also, to all of you, thanks for tuning in. If you're enjoying our En Casa sessions, please join us as a member of La Plaza. Our members that would make all these programs possible, and I'm putting out there our link to our membership page on our website. If you didn't catch the entire show, we will be putting it on our Facebook page at La Plaza LA, on our YouTube page at La Plaza LA, and also on our Facebook page at LAPCA.org. Okay, and just a little preview for the week to come. Here we go. Let me share this video. Now I'm lost now. This is such an exciting day, but here we go. This we're having, of course, today was Vikki Carr's the special birthday salute. We have tomorrow, every Monday, we have a cooking demonstration, a special one en español with Alfonso Martinez de Ponchos Tlayudas, teaching us how to make caldo de nopales. On Wednesday, a documentary preview about the Desert Angels. Desert Angels, Los Ángeles del Desierto, are individuals that volunteer out on the border to help out with people crossing the border. So a documentary trailer. Then finally, on Friday, West Coast Chicano Soul with Frankie Fidme, an internet DJ from East LA Review, giving us the history of Chicano Soul on video and music. So again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us in Casa con La Plaza, and today for the first time at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. So, hasta la próxima. Thank you again, Dan.
Thank you, Abelardo. Thank you so much. We'll see you with Eddie Olmos on August 7th.
Yes, we will. Bye-bye.